morning, podcasters. Hope you're well. Is it morning? No, it's not even morning. It's afternoon, and I've buggered that up straight away. Well, unfortunately, I've been abandoned by my long-term stroke podcast host, raconteur, lover, part-time lover. He's having to furlough somebody at the moment, which sounds absolutely filthy, but obviously he feels is a little bit more serious than the podcast. So he's been binned off. This is Mini Me. He's going to be jumping in with all of the sort of low-grade jokes that David was more than capable of. So today we're particularly excited. We're just waiting on the countdown clock here for Mr. Social Media, Mr. Video himself, Mr. Watkins. So very excited about that. My mentor, he doesn't know it yet, but he is. And so we're very keen to be asking him some of the questions for once. And that will result in a proper Frost-Nixon game of power between us. So no doubt he'll absolutely rinse the floor with me. I thought while we're waiting. Oh, by the way, sorry, David is planning to join us any moment. He's hot-footing it and trying to upload. I thought we'd have a look at a couple of the stories though that were out. And whilst David's here not to control me, I'll go straight in with a political story. So my admiration for this government is pretty well known. And whilst everyone doesn't want to be jumping on the bandwagon, I will point out that I've been criticising them for years. So this is pretty consistent. But it is pretty horrendous that I was just reading a story here today that said testing kits that are due to arrive in the UK were found to have been contaminated with the coronavirus, according to reports. That's a bit of an own goal, isn't it? That's a bit of a balls up on any sort of level there. Matt Hancock, he of Hancock's Half Hour, said there's 3.5 million antibody tests had been ordered from private companies to help meet demand. So again, the private sector really stepping up and fucking everyone over when they can make a penny out of it. It was really good to see. And it was discovered anyway. This company, a company based in Luxembourg, so no doubt, obviously, all the European critics will say that it's a big plan to get us, have been contaminated with COVID-19. Said that warned laboratories in the UK that delivery of parts referred to as probes and primers, which sounds absolutely filthy to be fair, have been contaminated. So that's not great. Hopefully it does though so that there's actually a sign that they are beginning to constructively set up some of the, do some more testing and anything else there. In a slightly lighter note, although pretty weird, Gary Lineker's son has been all over social media proving just how strange the coronavirus symptoms are, which he's obviously afflicted with at the moment, by drinking a glass of vinegar. So one of the clear side effects, apparently, of this virus is that it takes away your sense of taste and smell. So he said that was pretty much the best way of demonstrating it, fairly revoltingly, by downing it in one on there. So if you're missing your shooters from Wetherspoons, have a look at that. That's really, really foul. What else have we got here? Well, actually, this just to prove that David and I are ahead of. We create the news. We don't just report on the news. We were talking yesterday about House Party and how there'd been an absolute explosion of this. I think this. What does it say here? This. There were about an average download of this particular app to meet up. It's essentially a Zoom for pissheads. Was about 130,000 a week mid-February, and it's gone up to 2 million a week in the middle of March. So I'd be very surprised if you hadn't heard of it, been in it, and desperately tried to escape from it as much as anything. But yesterday it appeared that it was either a smear campaign or they had something to defend. I mean, me and David were joking that it was owned by some Belarusian gangsters and they were rinsing the data, but that was evidently what actually came out. A lot of people, online rumours here allege that downloading the app led to other services such as Netflix and Spotify being hacked. The company itself said there was no evidence to back up those claims. And in fact has gone out there offering a bounty. It said it's offering $1 million, about £810,000, that is. I'm pretty sure it's going to be parity in a few weeks. But again, easier for those currency conversions for holidays we're not going to have. And it's giving reward anyway for evidence the company was the victim of a commercial smear campaign because they deny in exactly that that there was any sort of anything going on there. So anyway, it's up to you whether you take advantage of those things, but I'd always be very wary of any app that asks for every single bit of information on you, no matter how boring that might seem to be. So let's see what else is there we've got in here. So there's James Corden, unfortunately, says he's been struggling with incredible spikes of anxiety and sadness during the coronavirus outbreak, which is how I feel whenever I see him. So it's nice to suddenly see himself get something back. In more dangerous news, we all thought the end of the world was coming from zombies, or pretty much zombies, isn't it? I can't think of anything else. But actually, we got it all wrong. It's not that. It's not Terminator. It's not aliens. In fact, a herd of goats has taken over a town centre, which was deserted, of course, due to the coronavirus. They are eating hedges and flowers from gardens too in the Welsh seaside town. Now, those goats might think they have the upper hand at the moment, but knowing the Welsh, they have their own solution to this problem once they're allowed back outside, and that's going to be a hell of a party. So here's to you down in Dawson's, FBM, Magini. Enjoy yourselves when that particular banner's lifted. Okay, well, we should be getting joined any minute now, so let me just see where we're up to. What else have we got in here? We have got, oh yes, here we go. So I don't know if some of you saw on social media the other day, but I did post on Twitter probably the most spectacular own goal, Ratner style, from a marketing campaign that I'd seen for some time. And whilst I was teaching the kids about the joys of Doug McClure, he of The Land That Time Forgot, that little story about getting lost on an island and plastic dinosaurs trying to eat you. PG Tips popped up in the adverts, and they popped up with a few of these. I'll post these on the podcast here, but I don't know if you can see this. Pop round for a cuppa with your neighbour, brilliant. Pop round for a cuppa with your relative, all completed together with the wonderful hashtag cuppas together, or as it should be, Corona together. So somebody there clearly getting sacked from the PG Tips team, so I assume it must have been that chimp if it was the right one they've got there. So, but that wasn't the most spectacular own goal of the week, to be fair. What I think is the most spectacular own goal of the week is this one here from, well, let's just call it all Premiership stars, and this is footballers, so not many people have too much sympathy with them anyway. And it was just a statement from Daniel Levy, the Tottenham chairman, in which he confirms quite nicely that well, not nicely, but Tottenham Hotspur have cut the wages of all non-playing staff by 20% for this month and next. Now, of course, it's what it's not saying in that. It's that obviously non-playing staff, it basically means that all of the players have refused to take any sort of pay cut. So that's particularly nice to think that they're all in this together, isn't it? You know, it's such a short career. After all, they can only make, sort of 50 million quid or whatever else like that in the petty 12 years that they have to work before spamming it all on wags. And actually, it was just on the back of another story, really, where Barcelona, the fantastic Spanish team, had said exactly themselves. So no doubt Lionel Messi and Suarez haven't got enough money, and they were particularly worried about, just how many more islands they could buy from this. So yeah, they're all particularly nauseating news. They're just showing that people really aren't all in this together, are they? So that's nice there. I was looking at the sort of around the world as well, and it's now, I don't really understand why it's only 3 out of 4, but the news story was 3 out of 4 Americans are under some form of lockdown, which really strikes me as missing the point spectacularly if you've only got 3 out of 4. I know it's a very state-orientated world, but that doesn't seem to to chime with basically trying to all in this together again, and trying to keep away from the virus. It does look like it's going to be a horrific state of affairs in America, and unfortunately, the bungling of this by the uh, president is really leading to some of the worst measures around the world. It's already obviously the largest confirmed viruses. I think there's now 163,000 confirmed viruses out over there, and unfortunately, obviously 3,000 deaths. And New York, I know, has had it particularly bad. Washington's had it bad, and you'll all have seen the news, a lot of the videos anyway, on things like Twitter and that, taking shots of tanks and those Humvees, and basically the military, militarizing basically and getting set up there. And if there's one nation you don't want to be it going tits up per se, we've seen Australia, we've seen the UK, bit of rough and tumble in the aisles there over some bog rolls is not going to be replicated in the States, where you're going to end up with the mother of all shootouts in Walmart. So that's not great. That's not great. Doesn't seem to be stabilising at all at the moment, does it? Doesn't seem to be stabilising in Italy, unfortunately, and I think we're set for that curve. So it is going to be fascinating to see how it is. I mean, with obviously a sort of car accident style view of things when you're watching this. Personally, I don't, as I'm well on record, I don't have any great faith that we are any more organised. A lot of people laughing at the classic, oh, it's the Italians, isn't it? I think you're going to start to witness what the actual effects of the cutbacks has had now. We know that obviously the hospital beds are almost at capacity already, and I think it's going to be horrible to see. Not least we see, obviously, I think, to be fair to City, who I eternally laugh at, but fair play to them, they've turned the Etihad there into another medical centre, bit like Excel down in London, which is, I think, is catering for about 4,000 beds. And that is a shocking state of affairs when you consider, obviously, what that's going to be like in there. I do know a few doctors, and I've been talking to them, and they are particularly worried about it. And that sounds like the bell. And by bell, I don't mean the hello. That is David. Hello, David.
Hello.
Hello. You forced me to go solo, or actually with Mini Me over here.
I cannot wait to edit out the last 15 minutes of you rambling to yourself.
Just delete anyway.
Oh yeah, you do look like Tommy Shelby with that cap. Yeah. Do me another Tommy Shelby impression.
The Camp Bass Street kids. No, I should never say that. Anyone wearing kerfuffle gear, we admire and reflect all sexuality, and indeed love it.
We do.
So, David, I've gone through a load of shit here whilst I was obviously covering for you, but you had the unfortunate task of furloughing someone? Is that actually a verb? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is, and it is the sad duty of most of my industry to furlough as many people as possible. And it's interesting. There are two. I mean, I think we covered this the other day, but basically the two thoughts on furloughing. You can either furlough people, let them have the 80% the government are offering, or you can furlough them and top up that 20% to 100%. And a lot of people are seeing that 20% as the cheapest investment that you can make in long-term staff loyalty, because they will not forget this.
So I mean, it makes it obviously it's all based on some companies still can't shrink quick enough with the cash flow issues, can they? And that 20% makes all the difference. But
it does. But I must say, we've got to appreciate that. You know, in 2008, when we all thought the world was ending, and it turned out it wasn't, because it was nowhere near as devastating as this.
No.
But actually, the measures the government have put in place this time round are substantial. I know it's not perfect. I know it doesn't work for everybody, and I know there's a lot of angry people out there. But this is just a hell of a lot better.
Of course it is. Yeah, I've heard. I wanted your opinion, actually, for once, on a couple of those elements. Just as a ballpark, I think Peter was just jumped on another with your long-term lover, Peter Knight,
Mm.
and he was talking about his gut feel was that people had furloughed around 80. God, is that laminated?
You can wipe it down easily.
Okay.
Can't you, Peter?
It was no. So he was talking about that his gut feel was that talking to his members that they
Yes.
would have furloughed around 80% of the staff. Do you think that talking to knowing your own experiences and the people you know, is 80% probably the right figure?
I think it's somewhere between 80 to 90%. It depends on where your business is skewed. So obviously, if you have a heavier lettings focus, you're going to need more hands on deck to be managing the arrears situation, which is a very new beast that we're all having to grapple with. Repairs and maintenance still need to be looked after. So sales, though, I think the feeling is that sales, for whatever reason, are going to ground to a halt. So there are solicitors still working on them. But if you were buying a house right now, would you be applying the brakes? Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I mean, as a temporary pause, though, isn't it? You know, it depends obviously what stage you're at in the process there. But I mean, get it locked into an exchange, and then it's guaranteed, isn't it? I know you're desperate to move and everything else, but most people should be in a fairly sanguine position at that stage.
Well, the elephant in the room is the question on value. So I don't know what your house is worth today, but let's assume it's worth £750,000. If it was, and I was about to exchange on that pre-corona, and now I'm 2 weeks into quarantine, and I see the rest of the country is struggling. I see that the economy is going to take time to bounce back. Am I still going to see value at £750,000, or am I going to say to myself, actually, instead of 750, this is maybe worth 650, 700 to give myself a little bit of wiggle room?
Yeah.
So those are conversations that, if they're not happening out loud, they're certainly happening in purchasers' heads. And I think right now there's a bit of a wait and see there. So if you're able to, I think the solicitor's recommendations as well, again, are if you're able to wait.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Oh, and you were talking there about the amount of people that were going to be sort of topping up on that 20% gut feel again. What do you think that is?
Gosh, honestly, looking at our industry, I think it'll be more like 30% of the industry will be doing that.
I tell you what, you know, and again, coming back to Peter, he's always a big fan of it, and I'm a big fan of the Pareto man himself. The 80-20 principle is never far away, is it, from those? You know, you're looking at the sort of ones that make a difference, as it were. That 20% core that sort of go out the way.
I think there's a lot of age. I mean, I'm reading what goes on the forums. I think there's a lot of fear, is the word, isn't it? So it's really. There's a great article. I sent it to you. I think it's from an Australian source. And I'm just going to bring it up, actually, if technology allows. But basically, this morning, our friend Milton Janish, that we had on the show from the key man. So there's two breaking news stories that I sent you this morning. One was Paul Chuckle, the surviving Chuckle brother, is recovering.
To me.
2 meters to you.
Very good.
So he's recovering from coronavirus in the comfort of his of Chuckle Manor. But there was another article that Milton published today, and I'll try and pop it into the links section. And it's from a guy, if this works.
Do you know the thing that upset me most about the Chuckle Brothers thing was, I was like, who the fuck gives a toss about any of that? And I went and checked on Twitter. He has 180,000 followers.
Yeah, I know he's an extremely influential Chuckle Brother.
To dream to be a Chuckle Brother.
Only second to the other one that's dead. He's still more influential than his brother. He's still living under his shadow, even though
is he getting to him now that Derek Akora's on the other side?
Connect call from Barry Chuckle. Okay, so there's an article by a guy called Mike Delpreet, who you may know, and again.
Hey!
Oh my
Property
God.
Wolverine! Property Wolverine! He's with us!
Jeremy Beadle
He's
in the room.
He's not said a word. Look at him. He's thinking, shall I stay? Shall I go?
Chris, before we welcome you on the show, I'm just going to finish what I was about to say.
Wait there,
but
Chris.
there is an article that has been posted this morning called The Real Estate Pandemic Survival Guide. And effectively, this guy has gone away and he has analysed what's happened in China, South Korea, and also Italy. So he's gone into what the portals are seeing in terms of levels of interest and what agents, and so we can look at how they're recovering and kind of apply it to our models. And I think and his absolute bottom line on this is the more you can cut away from your costs, the longer you need to be able to survive this to be there when this comes back.
Yeah, of course,
Hey, Chris Watkins in the house.
Nice. Look at that. Get them close.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Hello. So that was seamless to get in here, wasn't it? It's the height of organisation.
Considering I had 3 Zoom links and I only got 2 and both of those were dud, I think I'm a bit zoomed out at the moment.
You know what it's like dealing with amateurs, Chris.
Can I just say, I know you and I have never met, but you are more handsome.
Oi!
In the flesh, as it were.
Chris, ignore it. He was flirting with Nighty the other day.
I'm going to wear my cap at a jaunty angle. Hello there, Chris.
But we all flirt with Nighty, PK.
PK to me, SMW. So, Chris, thank you so much for joining us on here. We thought, obviously, given that we've all got no option, that we wanted to talk to you as Mr. Video himself anyway, someone who this is just second nature to and lives his life through a lens. See what I did there?
Yeah, it's the power of video is really weird. Isn't it interesting that actually studies have shown that the reason people like celebrities is that they feel like they get to know them even though they've never met them, because the subconscious can't actually differentiate between meeting someone and actually seeing them on the screen.
It's like me on a night out.
Allegedly. you are banned from certain postcodes though in Manchester and Liverpool.
I've been in lockdown for more months than most. That is interesting, Chris, and I think you'll know this yourself, is the amount of people that you get coming up to you talking and saying, and just go straight into a conversation, and you're rapidly trying to figure out how the fuck do I know this person. And they just know you from the amount you do. I was looking though, because I'm a bit boring like that, and obviously figuring out at what point my videos overtake yours and I become all powerful. And then I gave up because I was looking around. I think Tom Panos has done quite a lot, around 800 videos. I mean, he's been doing it for years as well, to be fair. Josh has done less, but he tends to do the sort of more case study based sort of quality ones. And then I came to you, and am I right in thinking your YouTube's got 1,200 videos on there? I mean, you are Mr. Content, aren't you? And I mean that in the nicest possible way.
Well, I'm a huge fan of the technique called content marketing.
Yeah. Do you want to just explain that to some of our listeners who might not be aware of that?
Okay, so most marketing for the last 50 years has been 2 different types of marketing. One is what we call disruptive, or you might call it as brand awareness marketing, actually. Yeah, brand awareness marketing. And the other one is competitive advantage marketing. They kind of merge into one, but they are slightly different. So brand awareness marketing is, if enough people know about us, they'll use us.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's why an awful lot of estate agents go down the run of, more in the old days, more newspaper adverts, bigger packages on Rightmove, everything, all the extras, more boards, more billboards and things like that, on the basis that if more people know us, that they will use us. And I would turn around and say, yeah, it probably worked 20 years ago, but it doesn't work now, And the analogy I would use, well, actually the real story is this, is no one actually loves their bank. Yet if I asked you to name 10 banks, most of you could reel off 10 banks straight away. Brand awareness is not what it's about. In fact, if you asked anyone, give me the name of 10 estate or letting agents in their town, everyone will be able to probably rattle them off. It's not brand awareness that's the issue, it's brand choice. You want people to say, I want to use that guy or girl. The second type of marketing is what we call competitive advantage marketing. And that type of marketing works on the basis of basically trying to use logic to prove that you are the best estate agent. And the best way you can see that in action is the good old-fashioned A5 leaflet with the name of the agent across the top. And then basically whoever has the most bullet points is the winner. You know, local professional, we're open 8 days a week. We've been open since 2000. Yeah. Yeah, don't even get me on market share.
And have a free valuation.
Free valuation.
Free market appraisal.
Ours is freer than anyone else.
Disease-free valuation.
You see, isn't it interesting that 95% of buying decisions, you have two halves of your brain. You have a logical side and you have an emotional side. 95% of buying decisions in the world are based using emotion first and then logic to back it up afterwards.
Yeah.
But what most people do with their estate agents and letting agents with their marketing is 95% is come and use us, we're brilliant. So using the logical side of the brain. What you have to do is get people to buy emotionally first and then use logic to back it up. And I'll use a great analogy is the Trojan horse story. Now, if you can imagine most people's, David, do you know the city of Troy story and the Trojan horse? And the implication?
Yeah.
Go on then. What happened?
As I understand it, they wanted to overrun the city. They had very strong fortifications, so they made them a magnanimous gesture, a friendly gesture, and they gave them this horse. They wheeled it in, and inside the horse were all the Trojan soldiers. Once they were inside the fortifications,
and at that moment he goes,
bam, bam.
I think he still got it though, didn't he? He did get there, didn't he, Chris? That was it, basically, yeah. Yeah.
So what you've got is every human brain is like the city of Troy with a dirty, great big wall around it. Okay, you know, the average human being sees 2,000 adverts a day. Okay, and if we actually took our time to read them, we would actually get nothing done. So we've programmed our brains to ignore TV adverts, back of bus adverts, Google adverts. We just ignore adverts. We just haven't got time for it. We have programmed our brain to ignore adverts. The problem is that when we go into a estate agency mode, we take our logical head off and we go, well, let's do our advert. So your advert's 2001 saying, hi, we're an estate agent. Come and look at us. We're brilliant. Our market share is this. And the reason you should use us is this. And we have so many boards out there, you should use us. And that's using logic, but people don't buy on logic. They buy on emotion. You need a Trojan horse to get inside people's heads. Okay. So once you're inside their head, you have no competition from anyone else. And with the Greeks opened the doors and let everyone in and murdered all the city of the Trojans, as they say. Yeah. It's your job as a marketing person is to get inside people's head. Now, this is the bit that you've got to get inside their head before they need you, not when they're about to put their house on the market. You've lost the game. This is where estate agents so go wrong, is that they're always trying to get
there. Peter was talking the other day about reciprocity, Caldini, and talking about that ability, how important it is to give without it. And I know you're a famous proponent of this in the way that you act anyway. That's what you're talking about here, isn't it? Is in terms of that need.
This is moving on to the process is whether if you believe in, it's all right. It's a wet one, so it's not dry.
That's the only time we'll ever be grateful for you saying those words.
Okay, so content marketing, so if we can go one step back to go four forward, Simon. Yeah. Content marketing works on the basis that no one cares about you or your firm or your services or what you do or what you sell. No one cares that you have to meet your budgets or targets or your money. If you believe in karma or what comes around goes around, what we have to do is people do business with people they trust. That's the yes. Can we agree with that?
Yeah.
So how do you get people to trust you before they do business with you? And what you do is you give. It's a really weird thing in humans, but if you give to people, or actually more important, it is. So you could say, well, I could go around giving cakes. Well, no, because that's not going to work. Because people are going to say, well, oh, what's wrong with the cakes? So what you have to do is this: people are attracted to things that they find attractive. A bit like Simon Whale, the most attractive man in the estate agency.
Oh, I'm having that. That's going on LinkedIn. That's going on LinkedIn this afternoon.
As voted for by Chris Watkin.
Look at that. And that's the moment.
Beautiful.
And then he pulls out the hat. What a professional. Captain, my captain. Captain, my captain.
That is the Pimp Master's hat.
This has not been seen for years. Okay, so
Like,
all the Australians talk about being an attraction agent. So if you actually look at the dictionary definition of the word attractive, obviously after the word Simon Whale, we'll take that as read. Yep. You'll see the words like interesting, intriguing, educational, entertaining. And what we need to be as agents, if you want people to be attracted to you so they're interested in you, because from interest people start to trust you. And you know that because we all put celebrities on pedestals, even though we don't know them. Yeah. Sir David Attenborough has been voted the most trustworthy person in Britain. None of us have met him. He might be a right twat, but we all trust him. Why? Because he's interesting.
He was voted, wasn't he, just before all this horrible stuff kicked off. He was voted the person most likely to solve Brexit just on the basis that he's so trusted. So
if you want people to trust you, reverse engineer it back, you'd be interesting. So what you've got to work out is your market share, the fact you're open 8 days a week and you've sold shed loads of houses, interesting to all the homeowners and landlords in your town? No. It might be to you and to your mum, but not you. So what you do is create content. Now, this is the bit where a lot of agents go wrong with content marketing. The content has to be valuable, not to you, but to the person. It has to be selfless, not selfish. So if you took out content which basically said, come and use me, I'm brilliant because I need to earn more money, that's not valuable or interesting to the person. So if you look, I've produced 1,200 videos in 2.5 years, okay? You could probably count on 3 fingers the number of times, 3 times I have mentioned exactly how I earn my money.
Yeah.
How I earn my money through estate and letting agents has no reflection on the videos that I chuck out. Just like estate and letting agents, the videos, and if you don't want to do video, don't worry about it. Do voice, do a podcast, do written word, do it in pictures. It doesn't matter, but you have to go with an act of giving, talking about his reciprocity. If you've got to go with giving, not what you're trying to get. Yeah. If you give without expectation in this world, in any aspect of life, for some reason, it always comes back. That's why, you never hear me talk about how I help estate and letting agents. A lot of people think I'm a trainer. I'm not. A lot of people think I'm a coach or a mentor. I'm not. A lot of people think I do video training. I do that on the side, but just for a bit of fun. Yeah. How I actually earn my money is totally irrelevant to the content I chuck out. But isn't it interesting that even in these tough times, I'm still getting agents contacting me? Every other supplier is being pulled. I'm getting people coming to me saying, I want to employ your services.
Can I just add into two different parts to that? I mean, I think all of that is absolutely an essential insight into how you should be approaching this. But there's 2 other elements as well that have made you so successful, and indeed any marketing campaigns worth their salt over time. The first is consistency. A lot of agents' mistake is jumping in and out, and they have this fantastic idea, they jump in, they run it a few weeks, and then they get bored and don't do anything again.
It's like patience. It's like going to the gym and only going once. A bit like, obviously not yourself, Simon, you've been an athlete of a man. But if you go once in January and then complain you haven't lost any weight, but it's like a diet. I'm about 2.5 stone, but it's the first 1.5 stone that's the hardest. Yeah.
And that, because the key one is there, isn't it? Consistency builds trust, and of course, once you have slipped in Trojan horse style, there you can have all the fun you want, isn't it? But then the second element I was going to go back to as well, which I think is just as important, is authority, isn't it? And again, that is a key part. And again, what you are able to help agents is steering them away from what they think is interesting. Is I won this award XYZ ceremony, and you're quite right. Market share is that, and Flossie, the dog in the office does this. But that point about, if you're always talking about being the mayor of your postcode, owning your locality and being the expert, and you won't say it, but I will say it, that's where you can step in and help agents, isn't it, with some of the services that you provide. Yeah,
so basically I'm helping my clients at the moment to interview people in their towns, talking about, what's happening and why they love their town, primarily.
Well, I was going to say, even at the moment, you're not doing that at the moment, though, are you? What is your approach, Chris, for at the moment, while everyone's locked down? Are you encouraging people to kind of have these kind of conversations with clients if they're willing to do it, or what's your approach while we're in this very difficult and unsociable kind of approach?
So the service I provide for agents, which this is not a plug, but it'll move on to what I do, is I ghostwrite gutsy written articles about the agent's local property market.
And they are fantastic. Not blowing smoke, they are fantastic as well.
They are great.
In the last, so I'm very similar to Dataloft, but Dataloft, the looks are amazing, very nice graphs, short, almost bite-sized, like
This is the thinking man's Dataloft.
Okay. So mine articles are Times or Telegraph in length and style. Yeah. So mine are 500, 600, 700 words long, gutsy as hell, with stats and graphs. The last one was talking about the rights and the responsibilities of landlords and tenants so if you were an agent in Leicester, and then I talk about the number of properties there are in Leicester, the amount of rent. I can work out what the total rent roll is in Leicester for the whole of Leicester. Then you put that in a graph and it looks interesting to the punters.
Yeah.
It enables you to go into a lot of depth talking about the different options of what landlords and tenants have and what they can do, and their obligations as well. Next week, I'm probably going to be talking about the effect of the potential drop in transactions in a town, and I can work out the number of houses that will sell in the coming Q3 and Q4.
Okay. Well.
And then you can work out what that will do to house prices. And then I will do like a 600 word gutsy article, one on Leicester with different stats on Leicester, and then one on Droitwich and one on Shrewsbury and wherever I have my clients.
Yeah.
And you don't need my services to do that. You could write them yourselves. If only we were all stuck at home kicking our heels, it'd be great. But what we also suggest people do is, let's be honest, no one's really in a mood to be buying houses at the moment, or potentially. So the advice I'm giving to people is, why don't you start doing videos on like the top 30 streets in your town?
Yeah. So that would be something like Luke Sinclair did that very successfully, didn't he?
I taught him.
Okay. But I did. Or
Michelle Gallagher. I taught them all. Very proud of them all. And what you do, I told people how to do this. You if you want the training video on this, if you go to my YouTube channel and then you click on the word playlist, there's about 70 playlists in there, and one of them says how to do video in your estate letting agency. And in that link, there is 34 videos. And the first 15 talk about the kit and how you set it up just using your mobile phone.
Yeah.
And then they talk about how to do great buy-to-let deals. And there's nothing actually stopping you doing great buy-to-let deals. But this is the killer part, with your competitors.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, that really screws up people's heads.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, then you could talk about the top. You could then do for every post district the top 30 poshest streets.
Yeah.
The top 30 most affordable streets, and you could say, look, I know no one's buying at the moment, but when this does come out, it would be nice to know where your street is in the pecking order and see if you're the most affordable, poshest. And then you could do it from your bedroom, and then when you need a picture of a few houses, you just drop them in through, get them from Rightmove Plus.
You're not saying go out at the moment and like get pepper sprayed by a policeman. Are you?
I mean, we've even done some free training. We've done some free training, and there's loads of stuff online on how to use editing software.
I have to say, Chris, if I could thank you on behalf of the industry, a lot of my colleagues are using that link that you've provided for training vendors to do either a video tour, but also I've got vendors that are trying to book properties on, and they'll send me their photos, and usually their photos all come out like that, very thin and very of one corner of the room. And obviously they need training in how to do it. So rather than us pick up the phone, try and educate them over the phone, I send them a copy of Chris's YouTube link, and Chris will explain to them exactly how to take that photo. It's invaluable and it's free. It's available for every agent to use.
Thank you for saying it. Thank you. The other thing I'd recommend people do is use the power of Zoom and talk to people locally and record it like we're doing now. And and if you really are screwed up with doing video, still do a Zoom call like this. But when you hit the word leave meeting, you've obviously got to hit the word record to make sure you do, because I've done that before and missed the whole interview. It gives you the audio. It gives you the audio as a separate file, which you could upload to a thingy. Can we go full screen just for a second, guys? Because I just want to show the guys this. Can we go on your recording?
Yeah. Just a minute. Let me just.
I don't need to go full screen. It's whoever's recording it.
What do we go to? Speaker?
Right hand corner, speaker view.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, guys. There's a little app called Anchor. Now that is Anchor, not the word with the W.
Okay, we've got the other one.
If you download this here, guys, what it enables you to do is you basically put your email in. You basically set up a thing that says, so if I was in Droitwich property blog, I put a photograph of myself like that. And what I can then do is press a button and talk, press another button and stop, and then press the button, and it will create 9 podcasts with URL links automatically. They'll send the links back, and then you can just choose one and just chuck it out on Facebook. And you can, I did that. I had a client conference in the good old days 2 months ago when we were all able to meet and not socially distance, and everybody set up a podcast within about 3 minutes.
Brilliant, isn't it? Yeah, that's a great tool. Thanks for that, Chris. That's really, really...
You can put me back to speaker view now, because I'm sure no one wants that.
So hang on. I could do a podcast without Simon Whale?
Yes.
Possibilities.
There we are. That's the wonderful world. Yeah, that's great. So there's some great tips there from you, Chris. Thanks again. I mean, and this should be a time, shouldn't it, of anything where people are reappraising their business, what they're going to come out with the other side. You're going to be kicking yourself if on the other side, I didn't do X, Y, and Z. I didn't get the chance to do that because, frankly, your feet aren't going to hit the floor running, are they, for a few months?
No, I think the magic thing is this. I do genuinely believe that we will lose 20% of estate agents out of this. Okay. Yeah. The next 3 months are going to be tough. The wages are going to be paid. It's going to be the 3 months afterwards where the money stops coming in, but there's no pipeline. Yeah. You have a responsibility as an estate agent to empower your local community and get involved with it by not trying to sell anything or talk about your estate agency, but by being at the heart of your community, by becoming this, as I call, the digital mayor. And, you know, who can believe it? It's 2 weeks since this started. And it's not going to be careful. It's going to be 2 or 3 weeks, and it'll be 3 or 4, and then this time will have gone.
Yeah.
You have an opportunity, whilst the eyeballs of your town are on this, to talk about great stuff, what's happening in the community. It's like, I know this won't happen to you boys, because obviously you were always the cool kids, but at school, there was always the cool kids, and then there was the geeks. But there was always one geek whose parents went away on holiday once a weekend to Ingermells. And they used to host a party at their house. All the cool kids would come along, so to drink and make out.
David Baldfrey.
Now, but this is the important bit, is this. The standing of that geek went up through the roof because he was the party host.
Yeah.
He was the one that was hosting the party. And you could become the host of your town's party by becoming the digital mayor, by interviewing people. I have produced, you just type the word digital mayor into YouTube. I've produced so many videos, and there's a few people in America that have done this. Or you could spend all your time looking at Netflix.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I love a bit of that. Or you can actually use this time to your advantage. I mean, the other thing I'd recommend you do is this: join Paul Long's Facebook group. Okay, his Facebook adverts for estate agents. He has produced probably 50 videos in lasting no more, probably 20, 30 hours. Make sure you go to the first one and work backwards. And you could become a Facebook ad god. Yeah?
Chris, let me ask you another question. I noticed that the tone of your last couple of sort of Facebook posts were a little bit more personal. It seemed that you'd done some soul searching as regards, people reassessing their value and their role. Talk to us a little bit about your thought processes over the past few days.
About 10 days ago, I had a wobble. Getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning, wondering what the hell to do, because my business is primarily focused on how well estate letting agents are doing. I have a wife who has asthma, so God help her. I have a father-in-law who's just coming out of chemo, so again, if he got it, God help us. And I think we've all got family who are in that position. Yet at the same time, we have to also look at the positives of looking back in life to all the bad times that we've had and how we've got through it. And sometimes we don't know when this shit show will finish, but we have been through other shit shows. And people say, well, we've never been through a virus, but we've all had aspects in our life that have been tough. And we've had to dig down and find something from somewhere. And I'm the sort of person that just, it just comes to me. I think, I'm going to share that. And it's what's really nice is that you get people sending you private messages saying, thank you very much. So then it makes you think, well, actually, if that's helping one person, I'll do another one. Yeah. But then at the same time, I've been doing other videos. I've been interviewing people from Rightmove, and people say, why do you do all these videos? And do you know why? It's the same reason why you lads do it, because it's damn good fun.
Yes, it is, yeah.
It is great. It is great. And although we are jokers, we get some really good content. And we managed to, I'm proud that we've managed to cover some very serious topics. We just now, the conversation that you and I have just had, that is, a lot of people are struggling with their anxieties, mental health, in terms of how they view. For me at the moment, I've got to tell you personally, the daytime is great. I'm managing to get through it. I'm pretending to work as much as I can here in the office, talking to clients, I'm talking to members of the team. I get to see my family for lunch and so on. But the evenings, as soon as nightfall comes, I'm terrible. I spend the time sort of worrying about the future and how it's going to go. So I think there's a lot of people out there, particularly, I'm not saying it's only our industry, but our industry, we've always been prone to sort of mental health wobbles because of the nature of we get to eat what we kill. And at the moment, we ain't killing anything except for time. And so there's a lot of people that are investing in themselves during the day. So we're learning new skills, we're communicating with the public, we're supporting our local communities. But there are times where, and when I read your post, I understood instantly where you were coming from.
Well, one thing that works for me, if I'm having a particularly bad time, and it sounds totally daft, but I write on a piece of paper, and you have to do this just before you go to bed, okay? I write down on a piece of paper what's on my mind that would keep me up at night, okay? So I write it very last thing, just as I'm about to put the light out. And then in the morning, and then what it does is it kind of transfers the problems from my mind onto that piece of paper, okay? And then in the morning, the first thing I actually then do is pick up that piece of paper. I read the problems, and then I tear that piece of paper up. What that kind of, I don't know if it works for me, but it's worked for me for years, is my head's happy because those problems aren't going away. I know you can only change what you can change, but there's still problems. We've still got food to put on our family's table. But by putting it on a piece of paper, it kind of sorts your subconscious mind out. That's the one that basically keeps you up at night, not your conscious one. And it says, right, at least they're there, but then you have to pick them up in the morning, read it, rip it up, and on you go. And it's kind of like putting your problems in a fridge.
Yeah.
And that really does work for me. I don't know how I picked it. Someone just gave me that tip years ago. And that gets me through the night.
Well, David, you can try that tonight. Let us know how you get on tomorrow.
I will do. If I wake up in the morning, I look at that note, and it's get rid of Simon Whale.
Good luck with that. Chris,
I think the guys, is this. There's only certain things that you can change. Okay, you have your thing at the top of your head, your amygdala, which basically its job is to keep you alive, and basically it doesn't like change, and it's going off like a dodgy alarm bell, and you have to teach it. If you speak to anyone who's been through any other financial crash, I'm not saying this is going to be a crash, they say they've come out a better person on the other side, and sometimes you don't know how the hell you got through it, but you get through it. We've all, and mate, if you just need to pick up the phone, give us a shout, but or anyone, I'm sure everyone else would do this. But just you can only control what you can control. You can't control what's happening in the world, but what you can control is your mind and how you're dealing with it. And I tell you, the last one is this: you're going to laugh, but a little bit of meditation, even if you just switch all the lights off, switch this off, and just talk to yourself for 10 minutes. The missus, I tell you what, this is brilliant. The missus has got one of these sound machines that plays like ambient music, and one of them is falling rain and thunder. Yeah. And you just go into the dark room. So I
love it. Genuinely, that's the one I love. It's really nice, isn't it? Just to fall asleep to.
It is absolutely wonderful. I like to just open and I tell you what, 10 minutes before I do go to bed, I will actually lie there purposely with my eyes open in a dark room, listening to it. It's just try it. And you can set your iPhone to switch off after. You can put, you can switch your iPhone to switch off on sleep after half an hour.
Yeah.
That's a great tip.
You were talking there just about Rightmove, and of course you've been you've been on that particular group for some time now, and you were striking me when we had a conversation the other day of as having managed to annoy some people for being too pro Rightmove and also being anti Rightmove. How have you managed this particular trick?
Well, you've been doing it for years, Whaley.
Dancing in the shadows.
Okay, so am I pro Rightmove or am I anti Rightmove? I'm neither, actually. Luckily, over the years, I've built up this reach and different factions, if that's the right word, have approached me. And my prerequisite is that, I mean, this is interesting. And Simon, we both have the same videographers. And the lads, they're fair price, but they still have to pay. I spend, nobody who I've ever interviewed has ever paid me 1 penny to do them. Yeah. So they have cost me money to do. So that's where a lot of people say, well, you're in the pay of all these prop tech firms and things like that. No one's ever paid me a penny. There has been one time where I had to go to London and they paid for the train journey and they paid for the film crew because they were coming down. Yeah. But when people come up on the famous Watkin sofa, Simon, you've been on a few times, you haven't paid a penny, no one has. Right. So it's important we just get that across, that no one pays anything. I do that out of my own pocket because I enjoy it. Yeah. Okay. I personally am. I think agents could actually ditch all portals.
Okay, big shout. Big shout.
Okay, and okay. The question that the agents will all ask you then is buyer psychology. So at the moment, buying a house if let's say you don't know any estate agents, you've got no friends that are estate agents, you just want to buy a house, you wake up tomorrow morning and say, darling, we're going to buy a new house. The first place you're likely to go to is one of the established portals, because to you, they are synonymous with starting that process. Now, I get it. We've had these conversations with people like Robert May, who are purists and sort of zealots when it comes to estate agents have become lazy. So we are not the first port of call, but Rightmove has become the first port of call. It's a question of whether or not agents are willing to put their work in order to change that buyer psychology.
Right, I've gone on record, and this is the bit where people shoot me down by basically saying Rightmove is good value for money. And I will state for the record many times, and I have done so in many, many videos going back over the last 2 years, that I personally believe Rightmove is and continues to be good value for money.
I agree with you entirely, yeah.
Okay. If you just want plug and play, because the job of Rightmove is the identical job of what newspapers used to be. Put the property in front of the punter, nothing else, right? Everyone went to the newspaper, and now people go to Rightmove. Okay? If you as an estate agent or letting agent think your job of Rightmove is to get you more vendor and landlord leads, you are so not with it. It's a bit like Auto Trader is designed to get more people to sell their secondhand cars with the secondhand car dealers. It's not. Just like Rightmove's job is not to get you properties to sell or rent. You have to do other stuff to attract the other side of the equation, which is the supply side of properties coming on the market. Rightmove and Zoopla is designed to find buyers for properties and tenants for properties. Now, some people say they'll go where the properties go. I've interviewed shed loads of people that have left Rightmove and just stayed with one portal. I've also interviewed other people that have dropped them all. People will find them where the properties are. We have to educate. And you can turn around. If only estate agents had these big plastic half square metre boards plastered all over the country, it'd be great, wouldn't it? Outside their properties. They're going to find the properties. They'll go where the properties go. Well, this is where we as agents need to do is this. We were really, really good in 2008 and 9 of explaining to our vendors that newspaper adverts didn't work, and that's why we were coming off the newspapers, and everyone was looking on Rightmove. Yeah. And that went pretty well. Yeah. So why can't we do the same by basically saying we are putting the properties, we're not going on Rightmove because the vast majority of people search social media. Yeah. And what you have to do is this, instead of you as agents, you are people, and you need to, the best way to get inside someone's head, coming back to the Trojan horse thing, is a story. Yeah. So instead of trying to prove to somebody, we've dropped Rightmove because we're saving money and they're bastards, you have to say, for the last 3 months, we have put 5 properties on the market on Rightmove and 5 just on Facebook. We have tested and measured, and this is property number 1. And this particular property had 3 viewings on Rightmove. And this property here that was on Facebook got 100,000 views, 2,000 likes, and it's the same house and got £3,000 more. So, Mr. Vendor, do you want to get £3,000 less or £3,000 more? Yeah. By telling a story.
Yeah. Storytelling.
Storytelling is the most powerful way as we as human beings remember information. We don't remember facts and figures, but we all remember our nursery rhymes.
Yeah.
And what you as agents need to do is do that. Tell stories of saying, look, you don't need Rightmove anymore. They've indoctrinated us into thinking we need them. They are like drug dealers.
Oh, completely.
They have we have become addicted to them.
Okay. The profit margin is.
So again?
Certainly the profit margin is.
But you know what? Look,
profit margin is irrelevant.
Profit margins aside, Chris is right. Profit margin annoys agents, but they've got no right to get annoyed by people making money. Nobody questions what my profit margin might be. The issue here is that to be an agent, it's an extremely paranoid headspace, and Rightmove reps over the years have exploited that. So when they come and visit you, the first thing that they will tell you is, I can't tell you this because this is off the record, but your mate, Mr. A, another competitor down the road, he's just taken out our best package that we've got. Now, I could give you the same, and I could give you the Rightmove Discovery product as well. It'll cost you an extra X, Y, Z, but do you really want to be the guy that's left behind? And so because if I made the decision today to come off Rightmove, I would have to be confident enough that I know that my competitors were not going to exploit that. And it's interesting, if we go back about a year or so, maybe 18 months ago now, there was a massive revolution where, and Chris, you were very much involved in that conversation as an industry, where people were coming off the Rightmove products that they used to have. So we were all stripping down to the basic package. And I'll never forget that our rep came to see us, and this time he brought his area manager with him as well. And they came and they sat down, and he said to me, a shiver runs through my spine when I see you making these decisions, because you are not going to make it as a business if you come off these packages. Do you realize your competitors will likely go into every living room and say, hey, don't use those guys down the road because they don't have XYZ products? And do you know what? As an agent, if you trained to be, and they continually reinforce this sort of very paranoid behavior that the reps have sort of instilled in us over the years, it's hard to turn around and say, I don't care, and I'm going to try and go this on my own.
No, hold on. You should care. That's the whole thing. Okay. So my advice to people would be as follows, is this: if you can't wean yourself off it, why don't you do it by stages? Okay. Just like someone coming off drugs, is why don't you put a couple of properties on the market, and even if you've got to put a property on the market at a slightly lower fee, and say, look, I'm going to test this. I'm going to put your property not on Rightmove, but I'm going to go hell for leather on Facebook, and we're going to do this, this, and this. And only if there's a chap called Mr. Paul Wrong who can teach you how to do this and do your great free videos. It'd be amazing. It would be amazing. That would be. And then actually create a story, and then prove to yourself. And then this is what I would do. Don't be afraid of your competition. Why don't you actually own it, own the competition, and own the fight by actually creating a video and basically saying, I'm proud we're not on Rightmove, because basically the average person spends X number of minutes on Rightmove a day, and the average person spends 10 times as much on Facebook. Let me tell you a story of two properties. One property sold just with Rightmove, and one just with Facebook. There were similar properties, and this one got £3,000 more. Yeah. So the question is this, boys and girls, is this, which one do you want more of? And then you come back to the thing is that agents were using, when people were coming off newspapers, agents were being beaten up with competitors with regard to newspapers. Also, if you're being called out on valuations, why don't you actually be brutal and God forbid, you actually ring up the vendor before the valuation to introduce yourself. I mean, Coleman, talking about cutting edge here, guys. I mean, for fuck's sake, excuse my French. But why don't you just ring them up and say, right, I'm going to be coming around. I'm going to be talking to you. My competitors, this is what we do. My competitors are absolutely fantastic. They will mention there are certain things that we do that they don't, and vice versa. And this, I am certain that we will be able to get you more money in a quicker time if that's what you want from. So give me the opportunity. And own the argument, own the joke, because it is a joke. You can live without the pause.
We're going to have to wrap it up there. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today. Obviously, we're going to be watching as ever to see all the fantastic news you put out. As you said earlier, everyone can just Google Christopher Watkin and go on YouTube and follow all his magnificent stuff, or they can drop us an email to podcast@kerfuffle.at and we'll forward on any queries.
And Whaley, next time, little tip for you, ignoring obviously the blow-up doll in the background, let's have your Zoom at eye height so people can look at you. David, and again, yeah, that's fine. And David, you're obviously doing what we call the kamikaze look because you've got coming out the sun. Have you noticed?
Yeah, well, can I show you? This is the best Bond that they've ever made, this guy.
Okay, and your point is, because that's true. Joanne, my wife thinks Pierce Brosnan's is the best. Is that right?
Pierce Brosnan, Jesus Christ.
Who's the best Bond?
It's insanity.
Well, she's going to say George Lazenby, isn't she?
Oh, there's always one.
Which one's your favourite one? I'm talking to the wife. Senior manager. Sorry? Daniel Craig. That's gone to the wife.
Oh, that's okay. Fair play.
Okay. But if things go really tits up in the estate agency game, as Simon says, I'm going to be filming General Zod in Superman.
Nice one. Well, kneel before Zod on that link.
Thanks for joining us, Zod.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
Cheers.